Hi, my name is Brett Ullman, and I am a full-time speaker and author and vlogger. I want to give you a short bio and then explain to you the talks that I do and hopefully give you some information on how I might be able to add value to your church, your camp, your conference, your school, or other venues. I live in Ajax presently. Ajax is about 45 minutes east of the city of Toronto in Ontario, Canada. I was a teacher for 10 years with the Toronto District School Board before my speaking got to the place where I couldn't do two jobs, and I moved into speaking full-time back in 2005. I have a master's degree in evangelism and leadership from Wheaton Grad School in Chicago, and I'm also a graduate of the Arrow Leadership Program. Me and my family, my wife and two children, are members of a church called C4 Church in Ajax, and we've been there since 2004. My job is a very interesting one. My job is to help people connect their ancient faith with their modern world. I talk about tough topics, and I spend years researching and then creating presentations, or call them talks, on these topics to help equip and empower parents, students, or even leaders in these areas. I only have 7 talks, so here's the ones that I do. My first would be called The Walking Wounded, and this is a talk where I answer the question, what do you do if you're struggling with anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and the list goes on? How do we have a biblical but a practical approach to this? I walk through my own struggle with this, as well as how we can help each other in our journeys as well. Kind of these tough seasons we go through. This talk is good for people of all ages, students, parents, adults, leaders. Where can this talk be done? My favorite, to be honest, is a Sunday morning church service. I usually call this Care Sunday, where I speak this talk and then one of your pastors gets up and quickly explains all the ways that your church supports those of us who are struggling. It can also be done in any other environment as well, from a school with both students or students and parents, conferences, camps, and the list goes on. My second talk is my newest one. It's called Parenting, Navigating Everything. Now, 95% of this talk is on parenting styles. It's on communication. How do we have time and presence with our kids? And even how do we discipline? In the last 5 to 10%, I quickly walk through all the other areas we need to help equip and empower our kids in. And that's faith and sex and pornography and dating and media and mental health. This talk is good for parents, but I think it's most helpful to parents of younger kids. This talk would not be a good talk for a Sunday morning, but any other time would work. It could be a parenting night at a church, a school, even a camp, or I've done some pastoring conferences as well. My third talk is called Media.Faith.Culture, and this is a broad talk looking at the areas of media, music, social media, movies, television. Not all media is good, but not all media is bad. How do we learn how to discern the media we put into our lives? In the faith section, I walk through very practically how we can add spiritual disciplines into our lives. You know, the idea of our worldview shapes our values and our values shape our actions. And then in the culture section, we look at how do we as Christians engage the culture around us. I often do this talk for Sunday morning church services, but I can also do this talk for students or for parents or combined together. This parents talk I usually call Parents 101, but it's really media, faith, culture for parents. Now, number 4 would be the sex talk, and it's kind of a pun because there's no such it's a play on words, I guess. There's no such thing as the sex talk, but we as parents must have a better conversation with our kids on this tough topic of sex. If we don't teach our kids about sex, then someone else will, and it's usually modern movies and culture. We as parents want to be the ones to do this. We can do this. This talk will help you. This talk can be done for students, but it's best and it's really designed for parents and leaders. How do we help our kids get a biblical worldview of healthy sexuality? Talk number 5 is called The Porn Project. I have probably weekly conversations with people struggling with pornography. This is a very practical talk, both in how we can work with people to help prevent and help people who are actually struggling with pornography use. I usually do this talk for high school, young adult, or adults, and it can be a combined session as well. My 6th talk would be called Dating.for.life, the questions. I redid my dating talk in the last year, and this is the 8 questions from kind of the biggest questions that people kind of would ask to me. Things like, what is dating? Am I ready to start dating? How do I go on a date? What are red flags? How do I break up? And a few other good questions as well. It is a great talk for junior high, for high school and young adults. But I find I've also been doing more of these for parents so that they can help equip their kids in this area of dating. My last talk, number 7, is called The Man Talk. I do this talk mostly for men's breakfasts, but it is really looking at how we can be better fathers, better husbands, and with a smaller section on being better boyfriends. Now, I do sort of have an 8th talk. It's called Truth Tellers, but it's basically a series of talks I've made, which is everything I've learned in all my 2 decades plus as a speaker. If you're looking at public speaking, this entire talk can be found on YouTube. There is some kind of side notes. There's no minimum or maximum size groups that I will speak to. For conferences, I don't care if I'm on main stage or breakouts. Finances are basically expenses plus an honorarium, and I will try and work within the budgets you have. If you go to my website, brettullman.com, and click Talks, there's a drop-down bar, and you will see all the talks I just mentioned with descriptions. And if you book a talk, there are promotional posters there that you just literally fill in and then send out to your people as well. If you think this might be good for your church, your camp, your school, or your conference, but you are not the one who can book someone to come in, you can always just share this video or, tag them on a post that's posted on social media with this video so that they can see it. If you have any questions, please send me a message. Thanks for your time. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye. Bye.